Good morning, everyone. This is Katie Novotny calling in from Premier Marketing. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. One thing that we have seen at Premier and industry-wide is the growth of short-term care. Today, I decided to have 4 of our top-selling short-term care carriers join us in order to explain where STC is now, where they're going, and maybe what they're going to see in the future, and also maybe give a little insight on each and every carrier. One thing I want to do is I want to take the time to introduce each and every carrier, and I thought no better way for them to do this than to introduce themselves. So we're going to start across the board. We're going to start with Tony Clark from Aetna.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me, Katie. I appreciate it. Yeah, my name is Tony Clark, Regional Vice President with Aetna on the senior supplemental insurance side of the house. So that is not the Medicare Advantage side. We do handle the traditional Medicare supplements, the short-term care, dental, vision, hearing, and all of our other ancillary portfolio. So thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
How about Greg Esposito from Guaranteed Trust Life?
Hey, Katie, great to be here today. Greg Esposito, Assistant Vice President of Sales at GTL, going into my 23rd year come January 2nd. So short timer at GTL. I'm almost out of my rookie phase.
Leah, you want to go next?
Yeah. Hey, Leah Morgan with Manhattan Life, Regional Vice President. Been here just almost a year. So still trying to get my footing on all these new ancillary products. Previously worked with Tony Clark for almost 12 years at Aetna. Had some really good experiences at Aetna, and I appreciate all those years. And I'm happy to be here, and I appreciate you for putting this together, and inviting us to be here.
And Kelly.
Hello, my name is Kelly Rayburn. Katie, thank you very much for inviting Wellaby Medico to this panel. Really do appreciate your partnership. I'm the Assistant Vice President for National Sales and Distribution, again, for Medico, a Wellaby company. I've been with the company 6 years, just had an anniversary, actually, so that's very exciting, but been in the business for 27 years, so we won't even ask how old I am.
Me neither. That being said, we have come up with some questions, and we are going to start with Kelly and Greg. The question is, why short-term care? Why did your company enter the industry? And where are you seeing success?
Kelly, why don't you go first?
Well, yeah, I think we're probably the newest of all players from the 4 of us in this market. So why short-term care? Well, short-term care actually, Medico, which is a Wellaby company now, was in the short-term care arena for quite a few years, just with a standalone product. And we had great success with that product, but for some reason we decided to revise it, endorse it, and then yank that product away as well. But why did we decide to stay in the short-term care market? I would say the reason why we decided to stay in the short-term care market is because it's an underserved market. With the long-term care market being so volatile over the course of the last couple of decades, short-term care really makes sense and fills the gap for clients that need some sort of extended care in their portfolio. So I guess the second part of your question is, where are we seeing success? Well, because we are a home healthcare based policy and an indemnity policy, I think that's where we're seeing the most success, and why with the new product that we launched in August of 2023 has been so successful coming into the market. We are in a limited number of states right now, but do plan to expand our footprint. So we're going to see even bigger successes later on. And I'm going to throw it to my friend, Greg.
Hey, thanks, Kelly. Yeah, I mean, to kind of say the same exact thing as Kelly, but possibly a little bit different at the beginning. The long-term care arena has been really difficult the last few decades, and it's just an underserved area. And one thing that GTL has been known for the last 18, 19 years is our hospital indemnity plan. And one of the nice things is it's kind of a complementary product to that, the short-term care is. And one of the things we've seen over the last few years is, our Medicare agents, our Medicare Advantage, specifically agents that are really going out there with that, they're cross-selling our hospital indemnity, and then they're reaching back out to their clients to talk to them about short-term care. When in the past, you would kind of think the long-term care agents really were in that business alone to talk about just long-term care. They've also transitioned into some short-term care, but the big surprise for us, since being in this market, has been that the Medicare agents are starting to pick up on the short-term care plans, talking to clients about short-term care, whether it be even something a little bit more sophisticated, like a Recover Cash plan, so you've got assisted living, nursing home, and home health care, or just our short-term home health care plan for home health care. So it's really been a nice transition and a complementary space for us.
Okay, so question number 2. We are actually going to have Tony and Leah Leah and Greg address this. What sales tools and agent / consumer marketing capabilities does your company have? And where would you tell an agent that maybe hasn't done your short-term care product to look for these and why use them?
Greg, you want to go
Well,
first?
Sure, I'll go ahead, Leah. Yeah, I think it's pretty standard in the industry that your carrier is going to come out with a client brochure. Some of the things that we've kind of expanded on at GTL to help the agent not only get the cross-sale going during the appointment, but also prospect. We kind of started a few years ago with infographics, which would make it very easy for the agent to show the client how the product works, and most importantly, shows an example of how the product works. We want the agent to be able to tell the prospect a little bit about the plan, but then give them an example so the client can identify with it. And then from there, a few years back, we started creating very short 2-minute consumer videos. I call them consumer videos, where the agent can do a couple of things. He can show the video to the client, again, really easy explanation of the product, and shows an example of how this product can work for them, so the client can identify with it very well. And then agents also have been using it not only to cross-sell, but to prospect. So if you've got a client who's got a hospital indemnity with GTL, you could also send them our video for our short-term home healthcare plan and really prospect for appointments that way. Agents really tend to love the videos, and it's really done a lot to increase their closing percentage. Also, our e-app platforms have been pretty widely known in the industry to be very easy to use. It's been years since I've actually had to do a training on one because they're so easy to use. And the fact that we incorporated what we call STP, straight through processing, so the agent submits the application and within a minute or two it's issued, and both the client and the agent get an email verifying that the coverage was approved. So those are kind of the tools that we've developed, and they're all about making it easier for the agent to get the cross sale done, get it done compliantly, and make it easy for the client to understand what this product is and how it would work for them.
So I guess it's my turn. So just like GTL, we have the infographics. Manhattan put together, we call it Manhattan 2.0, which is on our dashboard. It's a very, very simple application process. Agents can go out and cross-sell, pick all the products, put it in a basket. It's almost like an Amazon shopping cart. You pick what you want, you pick the price, the price point, and you put it in the shopping cart. You fill out one application and it shoots out to all the policies. So you may be filling out 4 applications normally, but this time you're only doing 1 and it still will do 4 policies. We also have, I think it's very neat. It's a social media. We have pre-approved social media gallery. You can go out there. So if you're doing Facebook, social media, you're doing LinkedIn, you don't have to have anything approved by the company to use. You just go out there, download which one you want, put your information in it, and put it on your Facebook or your LinkedIn profile. We also have the training videos. I think ours are more geared to the agent. So if the agent wants to learn more about a product, but they don't want to spend their day when they can be out writing business, they want to do it at home at night, we have that availability. And then we have the easiest, and this is on the back end for the claims, we have one of the easiest processes. It's called Easy Upload. And the policyholder, it's literally an app on your phone. The agent can complete it, or the policyholder can complete it. You just snap the picture on your phone and upload your claim. So I think those are kind of interesting things. That the Easy Upload for sure, I think, is super simple for agents and our policyholders.
That's perfect. So the next question I have is going to go to Tony and Leah. And this question is, what do you see as sales trends, your sweet spots, and the sweet spots of short-term care in general? So Tony, you want to give this one a start?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, it's you know, it's been interesting with short-term care products in general. You know, we have two of them. Well, technically three if you talk about the Texas product, but you know, with home care and recovery care, right? So those products, you know, we have seen a huge shift in specifically a couple of groups. One is long-term care agents that have become very frustrated with declines, right? You have mom and dad, grandpa and grandma that are applying for coverage, and you know, grandma gets accepted, grandpa doesn't get accepted, so then neither one of them want the policy, right? We've all been down that road when we're selling and what have you. So I think one of the nice things we've seen as a transition with the LTC agents moving over into this space. I think early on there was a lot of skepticism about, you know, are these policies real? I mean, do they really do what they're supposed to do? Will they really pay any money if my client needs it? And, you know, in wealth management, you know, we have seen, again, tremendous growth. It's been the financial planners even, so not even maybe so much LTC agents discovering these plans. And, you know, some of the financial planners, for instance, they need or have to offer an A-rated carrier like Aetna that has a long track of doing business in this space. And, you know, we've had these products on the, you know, I've been here a little over 16 years, and we started, I know the very first ones we started working with, or I started working with, were developed back in 1996. And still to this day, we've never had a rate adjustment. We've never had a rate increase. And I really just think that, you know, the more people learn about these products and they can see how they fit in today's space. And as we all know, we're all getting older, right? And you think about 70% of Americans who reach 65. Once you get over 65, at some point, there is a good chance you won't be able to care for yourself. And you have to ask yourself, how do I want that care delivered? Do I want it in my home? What if I do need nursing facility or intermediate or custodial care, something like that? So all of those things come into play. And I just think the sweet spot, I think we're just touching the tip of the iceberg. I think there's a ton of more growth coming on this. You've even got some organizations, and I know Katie and you folks there at Premier and some of the folks that will listen to this, you specialize in LTC, and you are now starting to realize how these products can come into play and be a good fit. So that's kind of where I think, you know, that's where we're seeing the growth, the most growth, the quickest. And I think that's where the sweet spot really is in that space too.
Yeah.
So I'll turn it.
Yeah, Tony, I agree with you. I think that a lot of the long-term care agents had gotten frustrated with all these declines over the years. And when short-term care first came out, nobody had heard the term short-term care, right? So they were skeptical about what it was, how it was going to pay. I think that it's going to continue to grow. As I was doing some research before this, and you know, you can go out and research you can Google it, and depending on what side of the coin you're looking at, you can look and find, you know, that people only live 6 months if they go into nursing homes. But then you can look on the other side of it and see, oh, well, sometimes it's 2 years. So I think agents really need to educate themselves as much as possible on what long-term care is, what it offers, and how expensive it can be, and what it's going to pay. You know, like at the end of the day, if somebody's only going to be in the nursing home for 6 months, they've paid all that money all those years. And, you know, for what? They could have gotten a short-term care policy and saved all that money over the years. So with our new product, we launched it early in the year to a select group, the OmniFlex, and it was very popular. And so then in June, we launched it nationwide, and it has exploded. It's got some really good benefits. I know that we're going to talk about those later, but I just think that this is, like you said, the tip of the iceberg. I think we're going to continue to see growth in this area.
Yep. I agree. And that's the other big factor I think that you hit on there too, is the premiums for long-term care. It's very expensive now. And, you know, back when I was selling long-term care insurance, I always remember when it was so much fun to go into, you know, you never wanted to sell anybody that hadn't had a rate increase, right?
Yeah.
Because that always was, oh no, you know, these guys are going to raise their rate, you know what? And now look at the state, or look at the status, or if you want to call it, of long-term care carriers. They've all started taking rate increases because, again, you know, nobody, I think when the actuaries worked on creating long-term care, they didn't plan on people keeping it forever, right? And so people do keep it. And
Yeah, and I also don't think at that time, I don't think people lived as long, right? People
True.
are living longer and longer. So if you're, you know, you go into long-term care at some point, you could be there, you know, an extended period of time, but you may not be. So people are living longer, and I think that's another reason that we see those premiums continue to go up.
Yeah.
I talk with my hands, I'm sorry. I'm like moving my hands around. So I think that I think this is a great market for agents to start looking at. If you haven't, you know, go out there and educate yourselves on what it is. And really, like, look at the brochures and read it and see what it pays. Don't just, you know, like I said, if you Google it and it says you can just get some really bad information. So just make sure you educate yourselves on what it is.
Or reach out to the experts.
Yeah.
Katie,
Absolutely.
you know, I think that's the other, I'm sorry to interrupt. I know this is
No.
the Leah and Tony question, but I think it's important that agents hear that they need to reach out to the experts to understand it, because even if you do Google it, short-term care can mean short-term medical, it can mean short-term extended care, it can mean facility, it can mean hospice, it can mean a lot of different things. And if agents are just Googling it for the information, they're going to read what they want to read out of it and then just decide right away if they want to or do not want to get into the market.
Yeah.
Same with clients. So I think this is a very underserved, undereducated market, not only from a consumer market, but also from the agent base. And I think it's our job as a carrier and utilizing partnerships like Premier to be able to educate the agent base on where this product can fit in and how. And really the bigger obstacle is why. You also addressed something too. I just want to make one other comment. I was taking some notes on the other side. Is not only are people living longer, but we are now in the crest of the boomers turning 65. So according to the age curve in the census, right, 1957 was the largest birth year in America for the next 5 years. There was 4 million people turning or being born during those 5-year crests. So we're now just getting ready to start seeing those people turning 65. Not only are we living longer because of the medical advances in the market, we're going to be living longer. People are living longer because there's more of them. It just seems like people are living longer because there's more of them. So just to kind of add a little color to that, I think that's also important for agents to understand too. Google and number of people.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was saying. Like Google, it depends on what side of the coin you're looking at. Like you can Google it and find somebody might live 5 months, and then you can Google it and look on the other side of it and find 2.5 years, 3 years. So that's why I think education is very important, especially in this market.
I think one thing that we see on our side, and I know a couple of us have used the word claims, but that has been something coming down the pipeline with short-term care. What we're seeing now is I'm seeing more and more claims come in because of not the short term that we cover, but for the short incidences that people need. This product is a recovery type product. People don't understand that. There are certain things that are never going to be paid by the long-term care industry.
Yeah.
They weren't designed that way. It's not that they're denying claims. They do a great job. That product and this product are two totally separate things. People, hip replacements, knee replacements, very common recoverable things are why we sell so much of this product.
Yep. And I think that's why, as people, just in general, agents talk to their clients about the products, we're seeing that growth is because people are realizing there is a difference, right? And it's been kind of hard in some situations to convince LTC agents and financial planners and stuff, you know, so forth, that they are what they are, because they almost think they're gimmick. And we certainly know for us folks here, on this call and for the folks listening in that will hear this, we know they're real and they do what they need to do. And that can, save a person from having to sell a lot of assets. Or I know personal folks that have had, I'm in a rural area, farming area, that have had to sell land because the husband had to sell land because his wife needed care. And she actually, believe it or not, true story, she was in care for 6 years. And so he sold a ton of his land. That was the only way he could make it work, and here, and I know these products are short term. They're not set up for 6 years, 10 years, 20 years, but that's not the norm. But we are living longer, and technology, medical technology is keeping us alive longer, right? So maybe 6 years down the road, it won't be too crazy, but
well, and I think another, if I can just interject here, sorry. I think another good thing about a lot of these products is, like, I think Kelly, you said they're indemnity products. So it pays the policyholder. And a lot of these products, if they want to stay home and have a family member help instead of going to a nursing home, just like Katie, you're talking about hip replacement, like you may have to go for a day or two, stay in the hospital. But if you could go home and stay home and have your daughter or son help you, then, that's probably what you're going to want to do. We've all been to nursing homes. Nobody wants to go to the nursing home if you don't have to. So if you can stay home, you're probably going to want to do that.
Right. And COVID changed everything, right? It seems like it's just beating a drum for the last 3 years, but COVID really changed the way people look at aging in place and recovery. They don't want to go to a facility. They don't want to stay there. So we're seeing less utilization of those facilities and then pushing themselves out into the home or wanting to be there. Maybe some of them don't need to be there without care. So this is just going to help them pick up the price of that care whenever they are at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to Katie's point about, this product being used for, short-term recovery, that's one of the nice things about the plan is you can use it and then you recover and you get that restoration and you can use it again down the road. And it may not be for something simple, like a hip replacement. It could be that second time for, dementia, or for you cannot do enough ADLs to be on your own. So it's a really nice product. And I do like the fact that some LTC agents recognize the value in it, and also selling both, because, an LTC plan may have an elimination period and you can set up these short-term care plans to have the 0 day. So you've got a product to use right away and then possibly the long-term care down the road. But I think it's a really great space, great product. And I'm glad that we've got a couple of products in that space.
No, that's perfect. And again, I can't reiterate enough. The stackability of these products and the wraparound sales to all of our LTC guys. People run into LTC every day. Maybe it was an old one. Maybe they don't have enough. These have been also great boosting sales for the existing LTC clients. So can't stress that enough. Another question. This one's going to be for Kelly and Tony. Speaking to any agent looking to consider adding short-term care, what is your advice and what expertise can you share with them about adding short-term care to their current selling portfolios? Also, any cross-selling opportunities you've seen?
So since my name's first, I'll go first. How about that? So the first thing I would actually say to an agent that is considering selling LTC or STC or getting into the STC market is you got to put it in your vocabulary. You have to put it into your script. And what unfortunately the market has come to in the last few years is a bunch of order takers, and that's not anything that we at any of these carriers can curb. That's having to do with the influx of agents coming into the market. It's almost like they've become tellers, so they're taking orders instead of asking the questions. But those agents that are really geared to doing what's the right thing for the client and also asking the tough questions, the first thing that they need to do is put it into their script, put it into their conversation. So you never know what's going to happen until you ask the question, have you considered who you would want to receive care from if you couldn't do 2 of the 6 activities of daily living or were diagnosed with a cognitive impairment? And all of a sudden a client is going to kind of sit back and go, well, yeah, I guess I would want my daughter to do it. They're not going to go, yeah, I want to go down to ABC facility and have somebody, you know, helping me go to the bathroom or helping me take a shower. That's not their first choice. So I think the first thing to do is to really ask and understand what the client, how they want to receive the care if they can't, if they fall into a qualifying event or they're triggered in some way. So ask who you want to receive care from. So that would be my first thought to an agent.
Agree. Kelly, that's perfect. And I think, you know, one thing that I always think about is, you know, when I was selling insurance, I was kind of a nerd. I called myself a nerd in a way, not because I'm smart, but because I always did what was called a fact finder, right? I don't even know if some people, I do hear occasionally people still using a fact finder, but that's when you would go down and yeah, Greg, you're shaking your head. You're like, yeah, I know. You'd go down and you just start top and you start asking your client about what they had for life insurance, what they had for cancer, what they had for long-term care, what they had. And, you know, the cool thing about that, it wasn't the intent that you were going to sell all of those products to that person or those persons you were talking to, but it asked the question because, you know, if somebody would come up to me, I don't know, maybe at my age now, if I didn't know about short-term care products and my agent or my financial planner or somebody didn't tell me what about these products, how in the heck would I know about it? Right. So you don't know. I mean, a good example is cancer insurance. Cancer happens, you read about it almost every day, right? Somebody, whether it's a celebrity or you know, a rock star or whatever, somebody like that that developed some form of cancer and passed away. We have friends that it happens to, but not everybody puts two and two together and says, oh, I need to have a cancer policy. So the agent needs to always sell the need. You know, because when you can show an individual the need or the value of the insurance coverage that you're showing them or that you're talking to them about, and the premium dollars that they're willing to spend or that they can spend, then I think that just really closes that gap. And you know, you never want anybody to come back. I've seen issues, and I think we're all from a corporate standpoint, we've seen things where, you know, agents have had DOI complaints or complaints from one of the sons or the daughters, right? Because the agent didn't talk to their mom and dad or the grandpa and grandma about, you know, hey, you needed long-term care. Why didn't, or you need life insurance or you needed cancer insurance. So you just always got to sell the need. And then I think one of the other key things, folks, we can do better that agents should do, and that's work your book of business. Mm-hmm. You know, adding needed coverage. You know, if there's people out there, you know, Greg, you had touched on hospital indemnity earlier. We have a hospital indemnity product as well. And during Medicare Advantage season, and Kelly, you took, you know, order takers, right? Doing Medicare Advantage. We're just going to sign them up and we're just going to make all that money. And that's great. But if you're not taking the time to talk about hospital indemnity to fill those gaps with the deductibles and different things like that, well, maybe you didn't take the time to do it, but go back. And you can do it with final expense or life insurance. You can go back to folks, send out a flyer, send out an email, something like that. So again, I would just close with that. I think if you work your block of business or your book of business, that there's a lot of untapped business to be had there, that if you just talk to them about it, you can close some of those sales. And I think short-term care falls right into that same bucket.
Oh, for sure, Tony. And I think something that you said was impeccable about the fact finder. You know, agents don't take enough time to understand where clients currently have their insurance products, if they even have insurance products in place. And the more when they fact find, when they actually ask the question and ask it verbally, you can't remove that communication from the client's brain. That's now now a memory. That's a conversation that they had. Well, I don't have a cancer plan. Well, I don't know how I want to age in place. I don't have any long-term care. Or even if they do, they're going to start to pull out their old policies and really understand or try to understand what it is they have in place. The agent doesn't need to make the sale at the table at that time.
Right.
It's planting the seed to be able to go back and do the 80-20 rule, like you were talking about, getting 80% of their next year's revenue from 20% of their clients. I mean, it's just, I think agents forget what they're in the business for. right? And not just moving on to the next person and making the next sale. It's really planting the seed and going back to the client and making sure that that agent becomes a trusted advisor to that client. I think that was well said on your part. I applaud you for that comment.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with you both, and I think you both made some really great points. And one that I would just, kind of compliment on top of would be, I think whatever product you're cross-selling, whether it's a cancer plan, as Tony mentioned, or short-term care, make it a personal question to the client, just like Kelly said. Using statistics, I always use this as an example when I do a cancer training is, try to stay away from statistics, walking into an appointment and trying to do a cross sale by saying, did you know, Mrs. Smith, that 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer? That's not really going to get their attention. But if you ask that question that Kelly mentioned earlier, it's going to sit in their brain. Who do you want to take care of you? And, even if for cancer, if you just use your own experience, people that have been diagnosed with cancer in the last few years, well, that's going to put in their head, who do they know? And it's just very, like you said, the sale may not happen at that appointment, but you're putting the product in their head, and then they know you actually have something for them. And hopefully they reach out to you for that product before they need it. But I think really just keeping it personal so the client can identify with it and think about it a little bit after you leave is really a great tip that you guys gave.
Yeah. One thing I do want to add is the fact of existing clients, right? So we have AEP going on right now. We have people out there doing prescription drugs. As someone that sees the pre-quals every day, which I do for all various lines of long-term care, even disability, the one thing that people do not understand is if you are working in open enrollment, doing PDPs now, that is your pre-qual to call me with. Once we see the medications, we may have to go up back and ask a couple more. But when we see those medications here at Premier, we see opportunity of going back, calling the client the first of the year. Did you get your Medicare card? Did you get this? Did you get that? Everything that we've done. Also, with a review of everything we went through, here's a follow-up thought. And we already know what they're going to qualify for because they have the list of medications. So just another opportunity, even though they may not even realize as new agents looking at short-term care, they may not even realize they already have a bunch of pre-quals sitting in their briefcase right now. Yeah. So that would be something I would really stress.
Great point, Katie.
Okay, now this is going to be the fun one, and I'm kind of excited to hear what everybody came up with. This is going to be to each and every carrier, and also I want you to speak on an industry level as well. So the question is, what makes your short-term care products stand out, and where do they shine, along with where would you put them in the industry? So we're going to actually, the way I did that earlier was I just did alphabetical carriers. So Tony, I'm going to have you go first, and we're just going to go down the line.
Okay. Well, I think, with Aetna, it's interesting. You mentioned about, the company, and Aetna turned 170 years old this year. And Continental Life Insurance Company, which is obviously the platform or the entity that we sell our short-term care products on, and, well, quite frankly, all of our ancillary products, turned 40. And I mentioned earlier, selling A-rated carrier and a carrier that's been around, it's amazing that if you as an agent, and you've probably ran into this when you're out there selling, and you ask folks, well, hey, did you have DVH? Or you may not use DVH as terminology, but did you have dental insurance when you were working? And people will say, oftentimes, yes, I did. And a lot of times it goes back to where they had Aetna, a touch with Aetna. Maybe it was a group health plan. Maybe it was a dental plan. I've talked to people here locally that have pension plans, and part of their benefits from pension is actually with Aetna. So I think the name recognition, the name Aetna, stands out. First of all, that's the one thing that really comes to my mind that I think carries a lot of weight. I think as far as our products go, our portfolio that we have, for those of you that have looked at the complete portfolio, know that we're not just throwing a whole bunch of different products against the wall and saying, okay, let's just see what sticks, or what are agents going to sell the most of. We try to strategically go through here and come up with products and not only so much products, but also benefits. One of the things that we do is if you've been looking at our products, we've recently increased a lot of maximums. We came out with a DVH product and it had a maximum amount in annual. So we also, and we raised that up to $5,000. Really, the market prices, the cost of medical care continuously go up. We know that. We know my friends here on the call, their companies are doing the same thing. We're all making adjustments kind of on the go. But an example of that is we have a home recovery care product in Texas. And for any of you agents out there that have stayed on the call long enough, the webinar, note that we have a $3,000 a week benefit that you can sell in Texas. That is huge, folks. For those of you that aren't selling in Texas, maybe you want to get your non-resident license and see if you can dig out some clients down there, because that is a tremendous benefit. One of the other things that we've recently done as well is we've activated what we call real-time underwriting. And it is a situation where our goal for you as an agent is to get an answer back to your client right away, immediately, and have it be done 100% of the time, where you can tell them your policy has been issued or declined. Now, what was happening in the past with us is, it really came down to prescription drugs. If somebody happened to be on a certain prescription drug and we didn't know what it was for, what they were taking it for, we would oftentimes make a call out. Our underwriting crew would call the client. Well, you can imagine what happens. The client doesn't answer the phone with caller ID, etc. So a lot of those policies don't ever get completed. They don't get issued. The goal with real-time underwriting is as you go through there, if a drug comes up, a couple extra questions are going to pop up, and that is going to give you, as an agent, the ability to ask that client the extra questions, and the idea is you'll get your answer. It may take about 3 minutes because it goes a little bit longer through that when those other questions come up, because what we're trying to do is, and what we've essentially done, is eliminate the telephone call. So therefore, you can tell your client that yes, your short-term care product, your recovery care, your home care plan is now effective, or it's in place, and you're done. And then lastly, I think the other thing that we do have, and Greg, you talked about your website. I think our website has come a long way. We've got a mobile quote tool you can use. And our platform, we're constantly changing it because we're listening to agents in the field. We take a lot of that feedback seriously, and we make those changes, and we do it internally so we can make those changes quickly. And obviously, those are all things that make doing business with us significantly easier. So,
Fantastic. Greg, you want to take the next one?
Absolutely. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I've been with GTL coming up on 23 years. Really, one of my favorite things about working at GTL is the idea that when we create a product, we figure out the space that we think we can help some people with, and then there's always possibly some other products like it out there, or maybe we're the entrepreneur for that area, like back with hospital indemnity. But we always try to create a benefit that really will stand out and be beneficial to the policyholder and their family. Specific to the short-term care market, in the last couple of years, we've introduced a benefit with a company called TCare. And this is a company that specializes in making sure the caregiver, not the policyholder, but the actual caregiver, the family member, does not get burned out. And if you've ever been in a situation where you're caring for a family member or a friend, your life is thrown upside down, and it really requires a lot of patience, and it's a very frustrating process. So we've kind of got to know TCare based out of St. Louis. They've been around for close to 10 years, and they have an incredible history of making sure that the caregiver does not get burned out. The first thing is, with our products, both of them, Recover Cash and our short-term home healthcare plan, first there's a $3,500 caregiver cash benefit that the policyholder will get, and they can give to the caregiver. That will help offset some of their expenses, time off work, etc. But the real thing with TCare is the caregiver has a short conversation with a support representative, letting them know what their responsibilities will be, taking care of that person, what else is going on in their life, and then they put together a plan. and the support representative, you know, lets that person know where there's some availability for some services in their area. Even something as far as where can I get a home cooked meal that will be delivered so I don't have to make dinner that night. Something very simple, but you know, really meaningful to the caregiver. That's really helped a lot. But you know, again, another great thing with TCare is, you know, the ability to reach out to them 24/7. If something new comes up, or if you're just so stressed and you need somebody to talk to, you've got those support representatives there to help. And that's one of the nice things I like about our new plans, is that the TCare benefit there, you know, is included when you get that home health care option. And it's really been great. And they've got a great history. Imagine they have a history of being able to delay the policyholder needing to go into assisted living or nursing homes, delaying that by up to 21 months by the caregiver working with TCare. So I think that's really powerful message, because as Kelly mentioned earlier, and Leah too, if you need to recover, you want to do it at home. And this benefit really helps out. Those are some of the things that I really love about GTL and our short-term care plans. And, you know, other than the fact that, again, they're really easy to get, you know, do the applications, get an instant turnaround on them.
Perfect. Leah?
Hey. So I guess some of the things that I love about Omniflex, like I said earlier, you know, we just launched it a few months ago nationwide. It has some added benefits that I haven't seen before. We have it's called a Fast 50 benefit. So if you need if you have an accident 2 days after you get the policy, but your elimination period is 20 days, you can go ahead and collect on that benefit day 2, but it's only at 50%. We also have a $300 a year drug benefit. So right off the bat, you're going to get $300 back on this policy if you submit it's $10 for generic and $25 for I just went blank on that. We have to rewind.
Go ahead, you can do it. It's generic and name
generic
brand.
and yeah. Anyway, so you get $300 right off the bat on that policy back. And then of course the restoration of benefits. Where our sweet spots are is, I think this product is, right now it's in 28 states, so it's just going to continue to grow. We're filing in every state where we can. So I think that that's probably our sweet spot, is kind of just wherever short-term care is needed, and that's everywhere.
And last but certainly not least.
Oh my goodness. I like being last. I'm going to clean up better. So I love this question, Katie. I thought it was great. And, you know, the last part of the question that you wrote was, where do you shine? Well, I shine like a diamond, according to, is that Katy Perry? Shine like a diamond, right? It's diamond in the sky. So that's where I shine. But let's talk about our product. So we do not have the same name recognition like Tony does with the Aetna product. It's also been in market for a shorter amount of time than the GTL product. I mean, Greg said he's been in the market with GTL for a couple of decades. I don't think they've had the product for a couple of decades, but they've had it for a couple of years longer, definitely, than Medico, a Wellaby company, has. And then Leah has definitely a leg up when it comes to the states that are out in market. When they launched their product right around the same time that we launched our product, they launched with a larger state footprint. We have a more limited state footprint, but we'll be catching up to them in the first half of next year. So a couple of things that makes our product stand out a little differently in the industry. And some of these are going to be the same as my carrier partners that are on the panel as well, but some of them are going to be a little bit different. One of the things that we did come out with was a full indemnity product. So we're a home healthcare based indemnity product first and foremost. There's a matrix that agents can go out to see exactly how many benefit days that a client can be covered, up to a max days. I think all of our product is 360, and ours is a full restoration, not only of our base product, but also of all of the riders except for the inflation protection rider and also the return of premium rider, which is a little different than some of our carrier competitors in market. So with that home healthcare base, something that's going to set us apart is we've mentioned claims a couple of times on this particular training for all the agents that are listening. Something that we do a little differently is we pay down to the very first service day. So I think it's very important for you to understand that whenever your client does file a claim, how many days in a qualifying event do they need to be utilizing the plan before the plan will actually pay? We pay every service day down to the very first one, which means that if I'm in a qualifying event and I only need 1 day of home health care, I will get that claim for 1 day of home health care. So I can essentially stretch my entire plan out for 360 weeks. So it's not necessarily based on a number of days inside of that qualifying event per week. Something else that sets us apart is our application actually only has 1 knockout question. So even though we have 11 questions on our application, which are reflexive, and I'll come back to that right away or here in just a second, we do only have 1 knockout question. So the only question that would actually knock someone out is, are they currently receiving care for a qualifying event? If they're not currently receiving care for a qualifying event, every applicant will get some level of home health care and possibly facility care. So long as they're not receiving care now, they can have some sort of care. So I think that's kind of different than some of the other carriers that are out in market. Also, we don't require a hospital stay. So if a doctor says that you're in a qualifying event and there is no hospital stay required, you can actually file claim against the Wellebe Medico short-term care plan. Something else that's a little different from ours is that the client can actually get up to 19% in household discounts. So if one person is applying, living in the house with someone else over the age of 40, that applicant can actually receive a 7% household discount. If 2 people in the house apply for the plan and also are issued, that's a 14% premium discount. And then if they have a Medico MedSup or a Wellebe Medicare supplement, they can get an additional 5% off. So that's 19% discount, depending on how many partners there are in the household, as well as how many products there are in the household. The last thing that I will mention, as I've already kind of said it, is we do have a return of premium, and it's all based on time that the client has the plan in their household or in their insurance portfolio. If they kind of go, you know what, I don't want this anymore, how long have they had it? And we're going to return a percentage of their premiums less any claims paid. And then also the inflation rider. We do have a 5% inflation rider that is awarded every policy anniversary. That can be awarded on the base plan, which is home health care, as well as the rider, which is the facility care, or both. So they can choose one, the other, or both to have the inflation rider on. So I think that's something we just did something a little bit different, kind of took everybody's wonderful ideas and then changed them just a little bit, just to make them a little bit more as an anomaly. I think we all want something that's going to set our plan apart so that it makes sense for the agent to be able to say, okay, if this is what you want, then Manhattan is the best. If this is what you want, then Aetna is the best. If this is what you want, GTL is the best. Or if this is what you want, then the Wellebe product is the best. I think we all give something that is just a little bit different to the agents to be able to sell the right product into the home of the client. Again, shining like a diamond. That's what I do best.
No, I love it. I think that I love this question. And this was something that I really thought about was, everybody deserves a seat at this table. This table is large. We're going to continue to see more and more seats added because it has changed the way we plan and the way our agents are selling. But the big thing is that each and every one of you have done things that were so right and so different. And so that's really, if there, that was kind of our message is don't just look at one carrier. There's no reason why we don't look at each and every carrier for each and every client that's inquiring. The thing that we do here at Premier is when you call us, the first thing I'm going to say is, tell me a little bit about your client, not who are you contracted with, because we have a tremendous amount of opportunity here that can allow for, we basically have coverage for everyone at this point. So with that being said, I do want to open it up if there's any last minute comments, questions, anything like that from you guys that you want to add. And then we'll get this cut off so our agents don't have to spend any more time with us. So
Yeah, I just listening to what everybody was saying over the last question, it just kind of really occurred to me, and I'm sure to everybody else, especially when it comes to like a short-term home health care plan, when you look at the ease of attaining this product, basically, as long as you're not getting care for that right now, you can get this product. And then if you have a prescription drug benefit like we do, and some of you do too, where really the net premium to the people that are taking, not even a lot of prescriptions, but just minimal prescriptions, the net premium after getting your prescription drug benefits, which we just raised up to $900 a year, it's unbelievable. It's almost as agents, when we started promoting the short-term home health care plan back in 2018, agents would look at me like, there's no way this thing is priced correctly. And here we are 6 years later, and the product's performing exceptionally well for everybody involved. So it's a product that you almost cannot believe that an agent wouldn't talk to a client about who doesn't have any type of short-term care or long-term care plans. It's really simple to get. Just like Kelly said, you don't even need a hospital stay. And if you're taking prescriptions, it's going to cost you very little per month. So really, really important to bring these products up.
Agree. Yeah. I would just add, Kelly, you were talking about the, your inflation rider that you have on your with you folks. Yeah, we are in the midst, not to try to scare you or anything like that, Kelly, but we're in the midst of looking at doing that as well with our product, because I think that is I think that's a great rider. I mean, it just makes sense. Inflation, you need something to keep up with. The other thing I'll say is that, for those of you that have been with us for a while and know that we are constantly looking at expanding our product into new states, right? Because I know some states are just very difficult to get them to approve recovery care or home care. They just don't want to, for whatever reason, they just don't think it's needed, I guess. We do have some new states coming out here shortly. I know, Katie, you know about Colorado, and we did get approval in Pennsylvania as well. So, my point of that is not to brag about that per se, but just, for those of you that have been with us for a while, maybe you're writing med sups, maybe you're writing or some of our portfolio, there's just states we constantly have to work with DOIs to try to get new products in. And so we are continually going down that road, and we will continue to do that. So I think that's pretty exciting as well.
Okay.
I think my final thought too, just real quick, Katie, is, I want to let you know that I appreciate you, and I know that the other three on the panel also appreciate you, not only for the invitation, but the fact that you want to bring this to light to the agent base, that you want to get this education out there, because this is an underserved market when it comes to short-term care, not only to the client, but also to the agents. The more the agents can be educated about this type of product, the more they'll gravitate to it. They'll see the need in the client house before the client actually sees it. So I really appreciate you for putting this together, and I'm sure my compadres on the screen do as well.
Yeah.
No, well, thank you guys. I mean, we wouldn't be here without you guys, that. But I think the one thing too is I want to add back to, we talked about there's coverage for everyone, and understanding, short-term care just doesn't mean 1 year of coverage. So one last thing I would remind any carrier is the reason why we are so lucky to have so many carriers in this arena too, is we can stack logos. So maybe you have more than one fit for that client. They have a budget for this for long-term care, but they don't want a reimbursement policy. They don't want something with a weight on it. This may be another option for you to use multiple logos all in one sale. So that's just one last thought I was having as we were talking about all these great products we have. So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you, specifically to all the agents, but to my carriers as well. I can't thank you guys enough for doing this. I think this is a great opportunity, again, an unserved market, and a fantastic way to kick off 2024. So with that being said, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Katie?